like to do today is we would like to present a new way of looking at things, a new consciousness. Rational people in the universities and the intellectually actually sort of put auras back in a box, and out of the same box with Nikola Tesla, a man named Dr. Strong, who are the originators of radio, some of the most brilliant people we've ever had in the world. I think Nikola Tesla was the first one to actually show full body aura imaging with this huge Tesla coil. He developed a technique where you could produce incredibly high voltages. And when you have enough voltage and enough power, emanations actually can come off your body. It's called corona discharge, kind of like what you experience when there's lightning coming down. Okay, so he actually had, there's a newspaper drawing showing him sitting in a chair just glowing all around. And then about 20 years later, Dr. Armstrong decided to duplicate the same experiment because there's a lot of rivalry and competition between the two. Dr. Armstrong actually had the first known photograph of him with this big, huge corona around him. And it was extremely popular. It caught on. It was a sensation. It was about ready to take the whole world into a new dimension. And then Dr. Armstrong got a really terrible shock, almost killed himself. And aura imaging kind of went back in the box for another 30 years. It was quite risky in those days. And then a man named Krillian, Samuel Krillian, in the 20s and 30s, a Russian, was playing around with the same high voltage only. He was just using fingertips rather than the entire body. He was actually able to produce an image of the energy around your fingertip. Well, it was kind of a sensation in Russia. It got around. People were talking. But you know, the communists had already had kind of a pretty good grasp on things. So the local commissar came down to check this out to see if it was kosher or they'd like it. And Samuel went, and he was going to give him a demonstration, and went to take his photograph, and it came out blank.
Wow.
He was humiliated. He was deflated. He was, he couldn't understand what was going on. Well, he got some other people in the room to finally get something that would come out, but his kept coming out blank over and over again. Well, the commissar left, and I guess with the stress and whatnot, Samuel got the flu the next day. Well, a few days later, his wife had her photo, and she came out blank. And they couldn't understand. And the next day, she got the flu. So this was the first use of aura imaging as a diagnostic tool to predict things that might be happening with us in the near future. In about 1970, I was studying yoga, and I went to a psychic fair, and they didn't actually have a Krillian camera, but they had a little display that showed you how to use it. Well, because I'd worked at Hewlett-Packard and I had access to unbelievable technology, within a few weeks I had my own fingertip Krillian camera. And at the same time I was studying yoga, and I knew that I could allow this energy to flow out of my hands. So I put my finger down, I took a photo. We'll be doing a few of these photos in just a few minutes. I took a photo of my fingertip, and there was a little spot. Then I concentrated really hard, and I took the second one, and it did get brighter. And I thought I was like super God. I had this great energy, and now I was going to go out and show the world how good I was. Then I went and showed it to my friends, and I would say just about every one of my friends' auras was at least twice as bright. In the Krillian process, which I just described earlier, we take two photographs. We do one in the normal state, and then I like to do a second exposure where I ask people to concentrate. Psychic healers, artists, musicians, dancers, people that have the ability to let the energy flow through them get brighter. When they concentrate, they actually make a change in their fingertip, which can be photographed. Bookkeepers, engineers, accountants often stay the same. Now you'd say, oh, well, this proves that healers and psychics have more psychic energy than bookkeepers. No, that's not really the way I look at it. The way I look at it is if you asked a bookkeeper or an engineer to concentrate on your fingertip or their fingertip, they probably cognitively would not understand what you're talking about. But if you ask a dancer to let the energy flow out their finger, well, they're going to know, boom, right away. We could maybe practice seeing auras. Just I think now's a good time. Usually, in order to teach a class to see auras, it takes a couple of days. But I think the fun part about it is that it's just taking a risk. It's okay to be wrong. We're just playing. You don't have to be right. What's fascinating about it is you have Some people may see the reds, some people may see the yellows, but I think the aura is probably somewhere in between, probably an orange creative person. Are you an artist or something?
I'm a massage therapist.
Massage therapist. So creative artistic. Highly creative artistic.
I had a feeling when I came up here it would be either orange or red or yellow. So it was kind of interesting what they guessed.
Well, orange is an interesting color in and of itself. It's highly creative. There can be a lot of healing in orange. Orange can be the fire that burns away your karma. And orange, again, which is a mixture of the vitality, the red, which is physical, blood is red, yellow, which is spontaneous, exuberancy, excitement. It's
Stimulation.
People smile a lot, stimulation, intellectual. You take the intellectual qualities and you take the physical qualities and you mix them together and you have a pretty unbeatable personality. I mean, you've got the drive, and yet you've got the tempered by the brain. Whereas the pure reds tend to not be so hooked into the brain. They may open their mouth first and then think about what they should have said.
Well, I sometimes do that. But I think with age I've become a little bit more reserved.
Which actually is kind of interesting about aura colors, because as we age, we tend to
We
move.
change.
We tend to move towards the purples.
Oh.
Purples, being sort of one foot in this world and the other foot in the other world, is a very spiritual color.
Getting close to death, huh? Get you into that purple mode.
Yeah, well, I think that's where you win. Purple people tend to be very receptive. Red people tend to be very outgoing and active. Now, what's interesting in relationships is purple people tend to be attracted to the reds, and the reds tend to be attracted to the purple. Now, this can make a pretty good relationship because you can have one person who's really physical, a ball of fire, can get things done, and you've got another person who can bring in the sensitivity. But in another way, the person that has a purple aura may be experiencing tremendous love and deep spiritual connection with their partner. And if the other one is red, there may be a lot of communication. This person's totally blissed out, and this person's trying to figure out what's going on. Okay, what I'd like to do now is I'd like to introduce Karen. Karen has had a near-death experience. And what makes this look kind of interesting is last week I got a phone call from some friends of mine that worked in Las Vegas, and she's actually a platform psychic. And she said what she does is everybody writes something down on a little piece of paper, they give them a little article, they put them into a big bucket, and she pulls this one out and goes, feels like Daniel Brinkley, the guy that wrote the book Saved by the Light, and that's who it was. So now Daniel Brinkley is a Aura camera reader junkie.
Wow. There you go.
So Daniel and Karen have something in common, which I've never had that experience, and I don't know if I want to. But anyway, I can't.
Good points in his
See, I've known her for, I've known you for most of my life. Amazing.
Most of your life.
Yeah, and she was nice before. I hear these stories about people, they're mean, evil, cantankerous folks, and they have this near-death experience, and they go, I love the world, I love everybody. Well, she was that way before, so it's hard for me to tell.
A little more than 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor. It was a small tumor. Any tumor inside your skull is a little disruptive to your life. But it was on my 8th cranial nerve. It was discovered when I went for my annual physical, so I suggest everybody keep doing that. It's a good thing. They discovered that I had hearing loss in one of my ears. So I had an MRI, and they discovered a tumor. It was growing into the ear canal, and it was growing towards the brain stem on the 8th cranial nerve. Well, I was living in Mexico at the time. I'd been there for 16 years before this. And I thought, well, this will disrupt my life for a little while. I'll go to the States, I'll have the surgery, and then I'll just go back home and everything will be fine. Wrong. Anyway, so I was making preparations, as you do when you're going to have a major surgery. I saw the attorney. I made out my last will and testament, made sure that everything was taken care of in my trust for my children. and made sure I had someone to take care of me if I did survive, my best girlfriend. And as it turned out, my surgery ended up in April. My daughter was able to come down and spend a week after my girlfriend went back to work to take care of me also. She's a school teacher, so she has Easter off, which is really nice. And I went to see the priest. I'm Catholic, and as a good Catholic, I went and confessed. I went to Mass. I had the anointing of the sick. I had the last rites. I was prepared, just in case, because it's brain surgery after all. You know, they weren't just going to fix a broken leg or something. So I can't say that I was frightened, but I figured that I should cover all bases. I was 60 years old. That's a little late in life to decide to have brain surgery, but I was very healthy. So that was a good thing. So I met with my friends, my support group. I have a dear friend, Michael, who's also Catholic, but who got off the path a little bit back in the 70s and was following an Indian guru. And so rather than pray for me, he was going to meditate for me. My other friends were praying for me, of course, and we had the rosary going on. And, you know, St. Francis is my favorite saint, so I was like into that. I was figuring, you know, that would be my good luck charm or whatever. So I went into surgery feeling totally confident. 2 of my children were there. The other 2 were unable to come. The oldest and youngest were there. And I really wasn't frightened. I felt like I'd had a couple of Valium. I was that mellow, and they gave me nothing. I just simply felt at peace that I'd done all the things that were what I needed to do. So I went into surgery, and it was supposed to be 5 hours, which doesn't seem very long. And so I said goodbye to my kids and said, I'll see you in 5 hours, you know, don't worry. Well, at hour 6 or 7, they started to worry. And of course, I didn't know. Actually, it was 10 hours before I came out. I don't really recall what the doctors told me that the problem was. There's a lot of vagueness, a lot of fuzziness. But what I do remember is something that has really changed my life. It was like having a dream, but being awake in your dream. I mean, I was fully there, but I was inside. I call it the heart cave because that's what came to me to call it. Nobody said that's what it was, but while I was in it, that's what it was for me. And it was a cave, but it wasn't dark and dripping with water or anything like you think of caves. It was more like lined with crystal, like when you open a geode and you see the crystals all inside. I remembered very distinctly that the roof of the cave was low. And it was very, very bright. It was very, very light, like crystals. So there was reflection bouncing off of the light. And so I would expect to see Jesus or Mary, being a good Catholic girl like I am. And lo and behold, there's a very dark-skinned man, round-faced, sitting in a lotus position in white clothing. Well, I recognized the man's face because I'd seen pictures of him from my friend Michael, who had gone off from church and followed his master, who was a man from India. His name is Prem Rawat. That time I didn't realize that was his name. So I was in the presence of this man who I would never have expected to be there. But for me it was as good as if I had been in the presence of Jesus. I'm sure it would be the same feeling that the apostles had being in his presence. When you're in the presence of a master, you know it. There was no denying it. There were no words said. He did not speak to me. I did not speak to him. But he said, I love you, and I said, I love you. And within that time, it's as if I saw how it really is. I saw how we really are one. I saw how lifetime after lifetime humans strive to find out what it is they need to know on the outside. And it's not on the outside, it's on the inside. It's in the heart cave. And it was so simple and so clear at the time. It's hard to put it into words because it was a feeling. I think what we forget about life is that we're able to feel I'm not talking about emotional feeling or just touching feeling. We have an awareness, and I call it feeling. I felt life to its fullest at that time. I didn't want to leave. I could have stayed there forever. I had never been happier in my life. I've never felt more peace and love in my life. And just that essence of truth that was there without any words was just like a miracle to me. And I do remember that the nurses were talking to me, and I was going, no, I don't want to leave. They were trying to get me to come back. I guess I've been gone too long, would be the thing. And so eventually I did come out of it, of course, as you see on here and on the live. But that experience definitely changed my life. I think that when I was conscious and able to be aware of what was actually going on around me, and I'm sure that took 2 or 3 days, because the pain was excruciating. And like you see in the movies, I had the white bandages all wrapped around my head, and my face was swollen, and I was paralyzed on one side. When they touch the 8th cranial nerve, it also touches the facial nerve, and it destroys your balance. I couldn't walk. I couldn't watch anything that moved because it made everything spin. So it was very, very disoriented, very uncomfortable, I'll say. It was a great deal of pain. So by the time I was ready to leave the hospital, I think I was actually cognizant of what had happened. The vision had never left me the whole time I was in the hospital of that sweet little man. I call him Miraji. That's what his followers call him. It's not his real name. His name is Prem Rawat. I'm still Catholic, but I also have a teacher, and his name's Miraji. Okay? I've adapted my lifestyle to that a little bit. But anyway, while I was in there, I think I was thrown into something called mindfulness that the Buddhists talk about. I don't know, are you aware of what mindfulness entails, some of you? Actually, what it is that you're aware of what is happening right now, and in a non-judgmental way. You don't judge it. You see things coming, you see things go, and you go, okay, this is what's here, and this is what's happening. And I was thrown into that in an automatic way. My mind no longer thought about what was going to happen next. While I was having a drink of water, my first glass of water, I'll never forget it. It was as if it was the first time I'd ever drank water in my life, the first taste of water, and it was the most miraculous taste. It was wonderful. I was in love with my glass of water. It was out of this world to taste water. Whoever tastes water, you just drink it, right? Because you're thirsty. The first time that I could breathe without oxygen, and I actually felt my lungs fill on their own. It was just an incredible thing. I was only in the now. And there's books out about the now. You've heard about it. In the old days, it was be here now. Now it's the power of now. The Bible talks about now. Well, now is all there is. And I realized that. Not only did I realize it, I was living it. It happened to me spontaneously. And it's gone. I have to work on it now. But for a time, I would say a good month after surgery, when I was eating, I was simply eating. I wasn't thinking about what I was going to say next to the person I was eating with, or if this tasted good or didn't taste good, or should I have more of this and more of that. Every bite, I was simply eating it, and it was wonderful. First time I was able to have a shower. I was in the shower having a shower. Now, think about this. We take showers every day, or most of us. You're in the shower, what are you doing? Are you having a shower? No. You're thinking about where you're going to go next, what time is it, I better hurry up, I have this to do, I have to go here, I have to meet so-and-so, oh, I forgot such and such. You're never really in the shower. You're not feeling the hot water on your face or your hair. You're not feeling the roughness or the softness of your skin. You're not smelling the soap. You're not in the shower. You're somewhere else. We spend almost all of our lives somewhere else. Either in the past, oh God, what happened yesterday was horrible. Or, oh, tomorrow I don't know what I'm going to do. I have this, this, and this. We don't have time to live our lives because we're either in the past or we're in the future. We're missing the boat. We're missing the whole thing because it's just right now. My life has changed drastically because of this experience. I do meditate now on a daily basis because that helps you come back to the now. I do a breath meditation, which is very Buddhist, and almost any meditation group does breathing meditation. Our breath is our greatest gift. It comes in and it goes out. It makes room for more. It comes in and it goes out. Until it comes in and it goes out, and then it doesn't come in again. And it's over. Like that. I have a gift. It's called life. I know it now. I always had the gift, but I didn't know about it. I raised my children. I've been married and divorced. I worked, I didn't work. I worked for probation. I was pretty much of a straight-laced lady for a long time. I wasn't into psychic stuff and auras and all of that. And then when I keep going back to my experience with Mirage in the cave, I'm thinking, okay, why wasn't Jesus in the cave? Do other people's energy fields really have an effect on one another? My friend Michael, who was meditating, who was he with when he was meditating? He was with Mirage. He spent the whole time I was in surgery in his heart cave with his master. Somehow, he sent his master to me. I have no idea how that works. But how else could he have gotten there? I didn't know him as a master. He was somebody I'd seen a picture of and that I knew my friend had followed. It means to me that my friend had enough energy in his aura to share with me. We were miles apart, but we were together. It's the first time I guess I really started thinking about energy fields and how we really do affect one another. I think it made me realize that being kind is probably the most important thing I can do in my life. Being honest, being happy, enjoying my life. This is my life. This is the only one I have. So why should I fritter it away in yesterday or fritter it away in tomorrow? Don't harm other people, but be happy. Enjoy each and every moment of your life. That's what I learned. In that silence, in that beauty, in that light. I truly believe that we are children of light. I believe God is love. God is light. And I really think I was there in that light. I think I am in that light. I think we're all in that light. We just have to open our eyes and see it. And I wouldn't suggest that you go almost die. But if that's what it takes to wake us up, God be willing, let's all do it.
I've started passing around a couple of handouts to all of you, and they're on the chair, actually. Now they're starting. One of them says, get the Aura Advantage, and it talks about 10 things that your aura does for you. And these are the 10 things that I describe in my book, Aura Advantage. Let me show you what that looks like. There we go. Looks like this. It's currently the #3 best-selling Aura book on Amazon.com, and it's been there for several months, which really impresses me. So I'd like to cover some of the material that's in the book. I know a lot of you may have read it already, but I'll be talking about that today.
Do you have any here, Christelle?
I do. I've got some on the table at the side of the room, and I can autograph them for people over there that want to purchase one after all the talks today. But before I get started with what's on the handouts, there are 2 of them coming around again, so make sure you pick one up, one of each. I'd like to introduce myself and describe a little bit about my background. The guy mentioned that I'm educated, and I think what he's referring to is that I have a degree in physics from UC Berkeley. I also have a degree in business. I have an MBA degree, so I was working at Citibank for a number of years as a project manager there. And I'm very proud of these different kinds of certifications because I feel that all of what I've learned through my entire life has given me a basis for doing what I do today. And what I do today is spiritual life coaching, in which I work with people to find out how their energy is feeling, I think of myself kind of like the driver when you take a driver's test or you're doing your driver's training and there's someone that has another steering wheel and brakes and all the controls. And so I like to work with people and show them how to use their energy fields. And then if they have trouble telling what's going on and sensing the subtle energies, I can describe it to them and starts getting people back in touch with that. And so I feel that the reason I have such a good sense of the energies is that all my life I've remembered what it was like before I was born, which is a little bit strange perhaps. And what happened for me is that when I was quite young, I wanted to go back to where I'd been because I thought this was the wrong planet. I just looked around and I thought, okay, people say one thing and they think they can deceive others because what they're thinking is not what they're doing and not what they're saying, and everything's a little bit out of whack. And so when I was about 5, I figured out I could easily step in front of a speeding car and go right back where I'd come from, which was so exciting to me. So I was going to do that actually, but there was an intervention. You may not know that angels can intervene, but they can. And so when I was about 5, time slowed down and I just experienced a number of brilliant glowing energy beings all around me. And it was a little bit perhaps like the full life review that Danny and Brinkley describes. But I wasn't really dead. I was just seriously planning to do this. I really had decided that's what I was going to do. And so these energy beings showed me, well, you've got a choice. You can always choose, they said. You can choose to have a fast life or you can choose to have a slow life. And if you choose fast, then it means that you'll only have had this many people saying, you know, what a pleasure it was to know you, because they don't really know you that well. And then they showed me what it would be like if I lived a long life, what they called slow. And the difference was huge. And so when the angels give you a choice, it's not always, I mean, it is a choice, but it was pretty heavily slanted. So, so then I came out of that experience and I thought, oh, it's good to be alive. And I haven't been suicidal ever since. But I do look forward to dying. And I loved hearing what Karen had to say. I loved hearing it because it really reminds me of the beauty and that sense of passion and connectedness and honesty and wholeness, just being complete, and love that's so all-enveloping. And what I like to do with my coaching practice is to help people get connected with their spirit. And earlier today, I believe someone walked you through the chakra meditations. So you are familiar with the concept of the aura. That guy Coggins described the history of the aura and how we've been perceiving it and how all of the civilizations around the world have some experience and some description of what this energy looks like and feels like. And there are people, usually shamanic practitioners, who know how to work with those energies, who can send out a thread, an aka thread of sticky energy and feel at a great distance what's happening. They can see, they can remote view, they can alter events energetically. This is something that we all do. It's not as far out there and strange as it may seem. All of us.
Now you teach this?
I do have classes. I'll be doing a couple of workshops in the fall here in the San Jose area. And you can check my website, realityshifters.com. And I will actually be going into the advanced levels of some of this information this fall. I don't have too much of the information about the advanced stuff on my website for obvious reasons. I consider that there's a responsibility that each of us has. And so rather than make all of the information freely available, I work on a one-by-one individual basis with people so that they can start by understanding, number one, we are energy beings. We do have an energy field that goes around us.
This is in your book too?
Yes, well, not the advanced stuff, but all of the beginning stuff. Everything starting with the history of the aura, how to see and feel the aura, and the 10 things that the aura does for you. There's a chapter on some of these. If you've got the handout right now, let's take a look at it. It should look like this one. Does everyone have this? Get the Aura Advantage? Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's basically what's in the book. This worksheet basically describes 10 things that your energy field does do for you. It's not just a beautiful, brilliant picture. It's something that's very active. I consider the aura to be the essential essence of who you really are. When you're doing astral travel, someone who's skilled at watching the aura can see your spirit leave the body. I've seen that happen when people have passed away, when animals have died, and I describe that in the book, Aura Advantage. So that it gives you just a bit of an idea of what it's like to have that full sense of energy and to perceive that we each have an energy field that surrounds us. And we can also connect, with those threads of energy, those cords. We can connect to pretty much anything that we can imagine. Yes.
Do you see our aura right now?
It's a good question. I can see your auras right now. What I tend to do is I focus on what I'm doing because I can get overwhelmed pretty easily. I've had some dramatic experiences which were sort of epiphanies in which it was out of control and I was really seeing energy everywhere. I prefer not to do that because for one thing, I lose my ability to focus on giving a talk, for example. There's so much information that's out there. And so I love tools like cameras that can really show you this is what it looks like and have such a good match for what I'm seeing and what the camera shows. And it's exciting for me to have things that are just verifiable, that you can have several different people looking at the aura and then take a picture and say, wow, they all describe the same thing. And I love the science behind it because I do have a degree in physics, and so I'm excited when I can see a study such as the one Barbara Ann Brennan did with John Perokis in 1978, when they had a room and they were able to put a light monitoring device in the room, and then they monitored what the difference in the light was when someone who was depressed came into the room versus someone who was feeling really upbeat and excited. It was a dramatic and measurable difference in the light levels. And so things like that show you that there's definitely truth to all of this. And it's not just some airy-fairy, new age mumbo-jumbo. So I'm excited to see that we're coming to a day and age when, in fact, there's a $1 million research study going on right now. I don't know if Guy mentioned it, but
1.2 million.
1.2 million. So you probably already talked about it today. Okay, I'm just excited that that's happening, that people are using the Kirlian photography to measure the effects of non-local healing, because these are things that are showing up. Non-local healing is definitely statistically proven, statistically significant is what I meant to say, with the gold standard of using double-blind studies so that when there's someone being prayed for non-locally with all different kinds of prayer, not just Christian, not just Buddhist, but all different varieties, it's been proven that people that are getting that kind of non-local healing make a huge improvement in their health. And so this is showing up in all kinds of medical journals. And I do have references to all those in the book Aura Advantage, which is too much to go into right now. So what I'd like to do is quickly go through all of the 10. I can't go through them in tremendous detail because there's a lot of information here. And there's a lot that your energy field can really do for you. But one more thing I want to talk about, since I'm not sure if you're all clear on this, I'm just going to be mostly talking about the energy field that surrounds the body, which is that glowing sphere of light, usually about arm's length. For the ascended masters that Karen was talking about, that energy field can be dramatically larger. It can just fill like a city block, it can fill the entire city, and it can be felt. And this is how disciples would often find their masters. They would be led by the brilliance, by the energy. And so it's something that you can use to find when you're making choices and so forth. You can tell where the path that shines is and just lead your life according to choices that resonate truly for you. So this is totally practical as well as being intensely spiritual, and I love combining those two things. So you can perhaps get a sense of that. And then the other thing, besides the energy field that goes out, there are the chakras. I believe that was covered already. So if I talk about chakras, I'm describing these spinning vortices, these wheels of light. When I think about them, I think about them as being kind of like gateways in a water channel. And so when the energy is flowing, there are no constrictions. There's no part of the energy system that's shut down. When there are traumas in a person's life, the chakras do respond by clamping down, and it restricts energy, which can lead to physical health problems and so forth. And so that's one of the things I like to look for. So let's start just going through each of these. And there's the other handout. You should have two handouts. This is a good time to look at both. The other one is just a reprint of an article that was taken from Vision magazine. And the title of it matches the title of today's workshop. It's Aura Awareness. And the subtitle, How Your Energy Field Brightens Your Life. And if you happen to have a copy of the magazine, it looks like this. It's got Alex Gray's artwork on the cover. It's Science and Spirituality. This also has articles by Fred Alan Wolf and Dr. Emoto about the messages in water. So it's a really good issue.
Can you still get a copy of that?
I don't know if you can still get a copy of it. That's why I reprinted it here. And so, yes, and it's got the book, Hidden Messages of Water. It's a fabulous book. And so basically, the article is the stapled one here. Did everyone get a copy of it? Okay. And then the one that I'm going to just go through and describe the 10 things that your aura does for you is this other page, Get the Aura Advantage. And so I talked a little bit about the personal space attribute of the fact that Ascended Masters have energy fields that go way out there. They do that partly because they can also sense their environment that way, just by having expanded aura. They can also, these masters are able to bring their aura completely in, and there have been reports of people that can just spontaneously combust and just go directly to light. I have never witnessed that myself, but it sounds interesting. To have that degree of control over one's crossing over to the next level. But for our purposes, most of us are able to at least tell when someone's in our space. We have the term in our space, and you can tell if someone's moving in on you. It's an amusing thing to watch at a party. If you see people that are European and their proximity levels are a little bit different than Americans, they like to be right really close up. And so they can actually back a person across the room. They'll be moving this way. The other person's sort of like backing up and smiling and trying not to trip. So you can also feel with your energy field when someone's behind you. And that's how you know it's not just that thing of when you can visually see them, but it's also the attribute of just being right there in their space. And you can actually feel it. So most of us, I see people nodding. You know that feeling when there's someone just right behind you? And it's not because you heard them. It's not because they bumped you, but you can just feel like there's someone right there. And so you might want to take a step away. It's a useful thing to have that little proximity detector. It's kind of like those curb feelers that we used to have on cars, to tell where you are in relationship to the curb. It's good to know because other people's energy is not always as clean as yours should be or you would like it to be. And so you might feel suddenly sort of a weird sensation if you're out in public and there's people that have various kinds of ailments. Sometimes it's difficult for very intuitive, sensitive people to go out in public because they can pick up everything that's around them, including headaches and migraines and stomach disorders. And so it's good to know how to shield oneself and seal the aura. Number 2 is accurately assess your environment. That sort of relates to defining your personal space. So ideally, working with your aura, once you know how to define your personal space, you can say, I feel good anywhere because I can seal my aura. And I can have control over it, whether it's really close to me or really far. And it's one thing that's kind of fun too is getting a sense of going to a place where you can expand your own aura so that people can feel you. You can bring it back in really close, and then people don't notice you, and so you can go undetected. It's almost like being invisible. And some of us are nodding to that one, so you might know what I'm talking about. And you can see the effects with the aura cameras on what your energy field looks like, because it does measure how far out it's going. And so when you're intentionally expanding your aura, people can feel you and see you and notice you. And when you bring it in close to you, as it is when people are sick or not feeling too well, then it's sort of an invisible effect. Okay, so accurately assess your environment. This is working with that high sense perception. And there's a term that was coined by Dr. Shafika Karagula in the 1950s, and she calls this ability that we have to use the sixth sense. She didn't like that term, the sixth sense, because she was noticing that actually intuitives, medical doctors specifically, were the people she was interviewing, are capable of using all of their senses. They would sometimes they'd hear something, or they would smell something. They would have a feeling of what the energy was in their patients. And so with all of those senses operating at a higher level, she coined the term high sense perception. And she published her work in the book Breakthrough to Creativity, where she talks about a number of doctors that she was interviewing who would tell her confidentially one-on-one when she was asking, well, how do you know how to determine what's wrong with this person? How can you tell what disease they have and what needs to be done without having all of the tests available? Because back in the 50s, it was even more primitive than it is today, and it's still pretty primitive. And the doctors told her, well, I don't know exactly, but I can just pretty much see what's going on, or I'll just feel it, or I just know. And so they didn't want to say this in front of their peers because it was a little embarrassing back in the 1950s. But as Dr. Karagula came to find out, this is something that was much more widespread than is commonly known. And I'm very happy that right now we've got so many intuitives out there like Barbara Ann Brennan and Donna Eden and Doreen Virtue and Carolyn Meese and all these others who can see energy fields and work with doctors and so forth. Okay, so number 3, maintain a healthy body. We're touching on that one. We're sort of crossing into all of these a little bit. But your energy field really is the source of all of your good health. When you don't feel good energetically, there's no way that your physical body is going to keep on being at its optimal level of health. I was talking before about things that can shut a chakra down, about being afraid, fear in your belly. You can feel that. And those times when you feel like that, it's difficult to perform very well. It's hard to run a race if you're feeling scared as an athlete. It's important to breathe down to those low chakras, open them up, do the kind of meditation that you did this morning with Rain Spirit, and just enable yourself to feel all that energy flowing through you. And another thing that you can do when you do have something like a cancer diagnosis, or the doctors are telling you we found something, you can know that it's not too late, because a lot of people can and do turn all of their physical symptoms around by working on the energy, either working with someone who does treatments for them, or also working on meditating, and even working on doing some energy attunements and alignments themselves. And so one thing you can notice if you do get a diagnosis of cancer, or a friend gets that diagnosis, is I recommend learning how to feel what that feels like. And so if there's cancer in the body, you can feel that there's sort of a grainy kind of a sensation, a difference in temperature, and you can feel it as you run your fingers through that area. It should also show up in the Aura photos. I don't know all the details on that, but I know that that's obviously a goal of all doctors, is to have the medical tools that they can just have a photograph and show it to the patient and say, we see this now. And there are some medical scanning devices that are coming out, such as Omnicorder has one. It's not on the market yet, but it's not in hospitals yet, but it is manufactured and it's out there. So there are devices that are getting like a little bit closer to what Guy Coggins is doing with his Aura photography, and bringing the two together. So we've got the medical scanning and the bioenergy fields in one place. Sensing your life purpose is something that I think all of us need to be able to be tuned into, to be living our maximum, most joyful life as our best possible self. And the way to do that is through what Karen was talking about just in the lecture before mine, about meditating and praying and getting to that place. I love that description of the cave of the heart and that feeling of all of that joy and love. But if you've never had a near-death experience, you can still approximate the sensation by meditating. And it is working even if you don't think it is. And this is the number one problem people tend to have. They'll spend a few minutes, like 10 or 15 minutes, and think, okay, well, I sat there, I cleared my mind, but I don't think anything happened. I didn't feel anything. I didn't see any ascended masters. I don't know that it's doing any good at all. It is doing good. It really is, because just the time that you're spending to clear that out, all of the clutter, the monkey mind, the chatter, makes a huge difference in your energy field. And if you do have doubts about it, it would be good to get an Aura photo taken and see what it looks like before and after, because that can really show you a dramatic difference. Meditation really helps. And getting back to sensing your life purpose, when you meditate more, then you keep that crown chakra open more, and you're receiving a lot more direct information and inspiration, which is giving you those little pointers. Now, I'd like to see a show of hands. How many of you at one point in your life have felt like you just knew something? There's no reason that you could have known it, but you knew it, and it really made a huge difference by paying attention to that? Okay, we're seeing a huge number of hands. And that is so wonderful, because when you get that feeling that you're just tuned in somehow, life is fun, and it's almost like living in that dream and being in the dream, like what Karen was saying. It's like living that lucid dream, and it's ecstatic. It's a wonderful experience. And so you get more of that kind of experience when you meditate, when you pray, when you do some kind of clearing of your energy field, like what we did this morning. The meditation, just clear all of the stuff that isn't yours, release energy blocks, and feel that energy just flowing through, that you're connected to that divine source. It's extremely powerful. The number 5 item here talks about effectively communicating your feelings and ideas. And this is one that's really good for anybody who's giving a talk, of course, but most of us don't give presentations in public like I'm doing right now. But what you do is you talk to your friends, you talk to your family, and you may have had that experience where you just feel like they're not listening to you. And it's frustrating, because you feel like you need to tell them something and they're blocking it out. You might as well be going blah, 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 like on Charlie Brown or something. So there's a way that you can get through that, and that you can kind of be heard. And what that involves is understanding, first of all, that you are an energy being, and that when you're speaking words, you're putting energy into the words. And that when those words carry from you to another person, you're giving them a gift of that energy. And just by being aware of it, you may not have noticed that you had a harsh edge to your voice, but I think sometimes when we're feeling like we're not being heard, then we get kind of confrontational. It's like, well, like I was telling you before, this is what I can't believe you're not listening to me. And then they tend to increase the block. They'll sort of be plugging their ears and telling me, like, I don't want to hear what you're saying. And so by recognizing that you can make that heart-to-heart connection, and you can get into that non-judgmental place where you can just say, this is information that matters. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about being right. I just need you to know how I feel. This is my truth. And when you can do that from your heart and put all that love energy into it, there's a really good chance that you'll be heard. It's not a guarantee, but it really can help a lot. And being aware that this is energy that you're sharing makes a huge difference. And the other thing with effectively communicating your feelings and ideas is that there is an aspect of the aura which is very psychic. We were talking about that high sense perception, and it's really easy for people, once they become clear energetically and they're doing a lot of meditation, to start picking up almost effortlessly what's going on for other people. And that's the principle by which I do my spiritual life coaching. I do telephone consultations for people that subscribe to my newsletter, and I usually don't know anything about these people. They could be anywhere in the world. And so first we set a time when they can call me, or we coordinate our clocks and calendars and times and zones and everything. And then when they phone me, I check in long distance and remote to find out what's going on for them at 3 levels of their being, just sort of breaking down the chakras into 3 big groupings. And so I start with their high self, which is the upper chakras, and I find out what's going on, how are they feeling, what do they need, what's the big deal right now that's happening for them. Then I check the middle chakras, and then I go down to the low chakras. And when I also get the divine gift, what this person is here on earth to do, because that gives me sort of a snapshot of everything that matters right now for this person. What's going on for them, and what do they need to be doing in the world. And all of us have this information accessible to us. It's just a matter of knowing, first of all, that it's possible. You might not jump to that level of awareness right away, but when you know that it's doable, and then you give it a little bit of time and practice by meditating and recognizing that you, for example, just knowing when your phone is going to ring, and then it rings, and then you kind of have a sense of who it is, and you pick the phone up, and you're not surprised really. You could kind of tell, that's the person I thought it was going to be. That's the beginning of getting that kind of connection. And it can go all the way to being absolutely clear when you're being called or talked to by another spirit, knowing who they are. On May 21st, I was doing an event at East West Books in Sacramento, and I'll just tell you a short little story about it. I was busy wrapping up all the things for the day. It was towards the end of the afternoon, and I was about ready to pack up and go home, but I kept getting a very insistent message from my grandmother, who's about 98, and I've told people before that she healed her liver cancer. It was through people praying for her, like the non-local healing that I was talking about before. She didn't go on chemotherapy or drugs. She was able to completely clear her liver cancer. So I could feel her spirit calling to me, and she seemed the most happy that I can remember her feeling and being for years. Now, this wasn't a phone call. It wasn't my cell phone. It wasn't somebody telling me you should go see her. I was just feeling her spirit coming to me. And just this overjoyed feeling. And she was asking, would you come see me? And as often as I go to Sacramento, I don't often visit her because she's in a nursing home, and she's been kind of deteriorating, especially the last couple of years, to the point where it's difficult to speak to her. She sleeps a lot, and it's hard to hear her. And although she's totally there, it was, but I could just tell I needed to go. And so I sent the message back, yes, I'll be right there. I just need to pack everything up, and I'm on my way. And so I packed everything up, and I drove over there, but it seemed like something was a little bit off when I got there, because the door to her room was shut, and there was a lot of activity. When I opened the door, there was someone in there, and I said, what's going on? And they said, oh, you got here, she just passed away. Nina just passed away. And I thought, whoa. And they thought they had phoned me. They thought I was my sister. I'm not on the call list because I have daughters, and I'm usually with them, and so my sister was the one who was supposed to be there right away. But this was really amazing to me, that I was able to just feel her calling me. And then when I got there, I could see that she was out of her body, but she knew she was dead. It was one of the good crossings. And we had known that she would be crossing over at some point for many years. So I was able to, I felt very fortunate to be there, to be able to say a prayer for her, to see her walking off with Jesus. She's a Lutheran Christian, And so they walked off hand in hand, and it was just like this beautiful, glowing, white atmosphere with all of her relatives right there. It was the most beautiful crossing. So I was excited that I was the one who was privileged to have that experience. And it was just, yeah.
You made the statement it was a good crossing. So
Yeah.
what makes the difference between a good crossing versus a bad?
Oh, there's all kinds of bad ones. The good ones tend to be similar. The bad ones are where the person is killed suddenly, and I think that's almost the worst. They don't even know they're dead, and it ends up being a ghost situation, and it's difficult to even explain to them, you are dead, and please move on. And even worse than that is if they hold a grudge, and they're angry with the person that killed them, and it's just difficult in some ways.
So you're saying that people who are murdered,
Yeah. It depends on who they are and how clear they are. Some people are murdered and they get it right away, like, oh, I was murdered. And they've done a lot of prayer and meditation and they can cross really well. But that doesn't always happen.
so when you say cross,
Yeah, make the transition. It's just the aura leaving the body and just, drifting off in a
you
way.
mean some people's auras stay around?
Yeah, and they walk around. That's like the ghost effect. Or someone,
And for years or?
it could be, yeah.
Centuries?
And playing with your energy there. Making good choices. We talked about that earlier, that you can feel that bright, brilliant energy. And sometimes that it just feels like there's an inner light to things. I like to make an example here. Let's do another exercise where you can think of two things that you're going to be deciding between. Now make it real. Make it something you really care about. And you're going to put one imaginary thing in one hand and the other in the other hand. So you've got two hands and you'll be looking at the energy of two different choices. This is just to give you a sense of what the energies feel like. And what I'd like you to pay attention to, and you can shut your eyes if you want. Sometimes you can see colors a little bit and you can feel tingly energy a little better with your eyes are shut. But if you sense, once you've got really clearly in mind one choice in your left hand, one choice in your right, think about something you really are going to be doing soon. And you want to know what's going to work out better for you. And you're just letting the wisdom of the universe help you decide. Some people say, well, I don't know if I'm any good at this. It's kind of like dowsing, and you might want someone else to do this for you because they feel like, I think I'm slanting the decision. That could be, if you can clear that just by having the intention that you wish to know the absolute best thing for you without your own ego getting in the way, just make that be your intention. And pay attention to a feeling of heaviness. If your fingers start opening in one hand, if it feels like there's a tingling sensation or heat, if you feel that there's like a sudden blast of light that's coming through, one of the hands might feel very different than the other one. And if that's the case, you can just open your eyes if you're starting to notice a difference. And sometimes you'll have two choices that are pretty similar. You might not notice a big difference. And in that case, you can just try it again when you get home tonight. But I love this very exercise, and this one is something that you can do pretty much anywhere. You always have your hands with you. You might have forgotten to bring your dowsing device, but at least you've got your hands with you, so you can tell in a grocery store, should I buy this or not? Is this going to be good for me or not? And muscle testing requires another person sometimes, but this is something you can just do anywhere. And it's something that gets you in tune with the energy, because you don't really need to put things in your hands. At some point, you'll start seeing the energy of things and feeling it and trusting that. And it's sort of an ongoing process of noticing what you're noticing and determining what kind of energy you're putting into it and what's coming to you. It's just all awareness, really. And then playing with that, getting a sense of how it changes with your thoughts and feelings. Noticing if it gets stronger or weaker when you decide, like, oh, okay, I think maybe this isn't the right thing for me. So it's just a fun exercise. And you can use your entire body, of course, for dowsing. All of us do that. When you think about something and you feel physically ill about doing that, like I would like to take this job, but when I started thinking about it, I just felt ill, sick to my stomach. And it's your whole body's energy system telling you, no, don't do it. And so you can listen to that and be guided by that.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Well, so if your hand opens, is that good, bad? What, should you
Okay.
let it go,
Good
or
question.
should you
Well,
hold on to it? What
in
is
my
the-
experience, for me, the hand that either opens, lights up, feels energetically stronger, that's usually the yes answer. But you can calibrate this whole thing. Those of you who've done dowsing, I should have explained this before, you can calibrate it just by saying, show me a yes in my left hand and show me a no in my right hand. And then you can try that. What's a yes feel like? What's a no feel like?
I see.
We can even try that right now. So you can ask yourself, show me a yes in my left hand, show me a no in my right hand. And for you, it's a very unique, very personal thing. For me, the yes hand opens, there's a light, there's a tingling. It almost feels a little bit more relaxed, like it's sort of going limp, sort of. There's a little bit of a relaxed heaviness to it. Yep. Okay. But it might be different for you. Okay. And let's see, non-locally affecting others, another fun thing to do with the aura. I love this one. Once again, there should be a caution for any of you working with black magic. I don't recommend that. Never do something against someone else's free will in general, because there's a karmic thing to deal with later on. And so I'd recommend making sure that you know that what you're doing non-locally is something that you feel is in the best interest of all concerned. If you're not sure, just set that condition on it, and then that's a good thing. Sending healing is often a good idea if the person wishes to receive healing. And so you can check if you don't have them, if they're in a coma and you can't ask them, you can just do this little meditation thing with your hands, show me yes or no, you can get the answer, and then you can proceed with it. And it's something that's very powerful, it's being proven medically. All of our prayers do have a healing effect, regardless of what your medical training might be or not be, regardless what your religious training might be or not be. It's from the energy that we have, it's from the auras that are being photographed that you're hearing about today. It's the energy that we're connected to, all of us, from that divine source that we can feel flowing through us. And you can just allow yourself to be that channel, that conduit, and direct it like an orchestra conductor, and just share the energy where you'd like it to go. So it's, there's so much to say about that one, non-locally affecting others. But for me, healing is probably the best use of it. It's something that can be affected other ways, but I don't know that we want to get into that right now. I'm going to keep that short. The last one is finding lost things. And my website, realityshifters.com, got started with people losing things. For those of you who've seen the website, it's kind of funny because most of us have the experience where there's a missing sock in the dryer. You know, you open the dryer and you can't understand it. It's like it's eating socks. And then when you want to go places, sometimes you find that you can't find your car keys. And you know you put them in the same place you always put them, but they're not there. And there's nobody there to have taken them. So what happened? Well, what happens is when you're feeling ungrounded and really wound up and excited, it's like being an ungrounded appliance. And you are sort of a psychokinetic entity, and you can have phenomenal effects locally and non-locally all around you. I've literally seen things appear out of thin air, disappear, including people, statues, sundials, cars. I've experienced a thing of milk landing in the refrigerator with the door shut and a witness next to me. We heard this crash. I needed some milk, and then boom. Like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm sort of a weirdness zone. But I intend that it's all for good things, and it's so I can experience the full range of reality shifts with all of the joys and benefits that they can be for humans. I'm not experiencing it from the dark side. I have no intention whatsoever of scaring people, causing damage or anything like that. What I'd like to do is find out how good can it get, and how can we learn what our full powers are in ways that can be helpful to all of us. That's what the website's about, and that's what both of my books and my CD are about. In fact, I'd like to say one more thing. I should probably leave some time for questions, but I do have another book you may have seen back there. It's called Karen Kimball and the Dreamweaver's Web. And it's a fictional account of a 10-year-old girl that goes to swim camp. What happened, the reason I wrote this is I was a little bit excited and disturbed when the Harry Potter books came out, because they didn't really match my experience of what magic really is. And I thought kids have a right to know what it's really like when you can see energy fields, when you can talk to animals, when you can be aware of the spiritual reality of spirits that can transcend time and space, when you can do lucid dreaming, astral travel, all the stuff I've experienced. I wanted that to be in a book. And so that's what this is. And actually, it's got a lot of real life experiences of mine are in here because they're frankly too weird to put, to get past the reviewers at Adams Media and other large publishing houses. Because they do question things like, really? At least with auras, they feel like that's been around long enough. But if you start getting into some of the other stuff, it can seem a bit weird even for them. So I felt much more free to write about these things in the form of fiction. So I think I'll close the formal part of the talk, and if we have a few minutes for questions, how much time do we have for questions?
2 hours.
No, Sandy's going to do a wonderful talk next.
Talk to my guy.
Okay, so if there are any questions about what we've talked about today, about reality shifting, auras, what your aura does for you.
I wanted to ask you about, when you say that when you walk to somebody and they start backing up,
Yeah.
I noticed that about 4 months ago with me. When I get around people and I start, especially my bosses and stuff or contractors,
Yeah.
if I get next to them, they start backing up.
And so you can feel, it's when your energy feels pretty strong too. Like you're feeling good, right?
Well, I didn't know what to look for, I
Yeah.
just noticed that they don't want to be around me, A lot of times I get to a bus stop and people walk away from me,
Yeah. You can use this to keep people away from you, like the wrong element. Like at bus stops, I've done that. You can just send your aura out, and if it's too clean, too white, and too strong, it can clean the area. So all the wrong elements suddenly leave. I have had that happen. It's fun.
See, they can't be in your energy field because it's not compatible.
It just means
You know
that
what I mean?
they're really different. That's what it means, exactly. If they really harmonized with you and they felt like, wow, I love what you're interested in, then they'd be coming closer. Like they'd want to know what you're experiencing. But they obviously don't. It's like, uh-oh, what you're seeing
It's like
is
too much.
too much, too intense. Yes, Sandy?
Okay, you said all these intentions, learning to get what you intend, like your little bottle of milk, is on your website.
I've got the most amazing stories on my website. Yes, I've got stories from people who share their techniques and their experiences. It's 6 years of information, so the website is gigantic, but it's organized, so you can decide, okay, I'm going to read the stories. The easy thing to do with the website is just sign up for the newsletter, and then you're not overwhelmed. You'll get one mailing a month, and it's a collection of some book reviews, some stories, articles. And so that's an easy way, so that otherwise you might feel like this thing is too big. I can't read 300 stories about reality shifts. Yeah. Yes.
Is this phenomenon of being able to read and see aura male, female influence, or equal, or not? I asked that question from the fact that I'm scientific based. I'm analytical.
Right.
I'm a retired engineer. Okay. And you're being a physicist, there's some time in your life that you are analytical.
Yeah.
But you're being female, you have more,
Yes.
less analytical than my analytical goes way back, because I'm born with it.
Right.
And just now in my retirement, I'm trying to use my right side of my
Oh,
brain.
good.
So I'm late in arriving, but I'm here.
Well, that's a great
But I thought
question.
I'd ask that question. There is a male-female balance as well as, scientific and being analytical.
It's an excellent question. I don't know the answer. I haven't seen studies that show, and so all I've got to rely on is my own experience working with men and women. And I see that both men and women can learn to see and feel the aura. It's doable, but maybe there's a bell curve, like a distribution, so maybe women have a slight edge. I tend to see more women because they seem, you can just look around right now. This is typical. It's like
More
a few men and mostly women.
Intuitive or intuition
Yeah.
is kind of a...
And I think, but that's because they're interested in it, maybe a little bit more than men. I think that both men and women have an equal ability to see and feel the aura. And certainly through intention, you can overcome any kind of obstacles. Even rigorous scientific training can be overcome. Any other questions? Yes.
I'm just going to say, for this gentleman that wants a balance between the two,
Yeah.
my chiropractor just told me about this the other day, and he says, how the opposites work.
Yeah.
And so on the right brain person, on your left side, okay, you do tone for a couple of minutes and just do, the pounding, sing a song, and then on your other side, do 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14.
It's like
16,
emotional
18,
freedom
20.
technique, EFT. Okay.
Yeah.
For those of you who know EFT, it's just tapping and toning and bringing yourself to feeling safe and then tapping the appropriate spot. That's a good tip.
This isn't going to take very long because unlike this young lady here and your other speakers, I'm shallow. I have no depth of experience. If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. Yeah. Yay! It should be fun. It absolutely should be fun. I've been playing with the Aura camera since about 1989, where I used to read at fairs. And the former owner of the Sacred Production show kept telling me I had to work with the Aura camera. And I kept saying, no, I'm a reader. I can't do that. And then one day he took my booth away from me, never to give it back to me again, and he made me start working with the camera. And it has been a joy in my life, a miracle in my life since. And also, if you guys want to know the best reader I've ever met in my life, is that little weaselly guy back there. That little bald-headed shrimp back there. It would astound people at fairs. He doesn't do it anymore. But way back then, all these beautiful girls would crowd around him, and he would name names. He would name dates. He was incredible. So you can be a psychic and do this, but it's actually much easier if you don't do it on a psychic level. And I stopped doing that a long time ago. And as a matter of fact, Guy talks about doing TV work and radio work. Right now, there's almost a stoppage with a lot of the radio stations and TV stations. They won't use psychics. They limit psychics to people maybe they know and they've had personal experiences with. So it's really hard to break through if you're a psychic. But with the Aura camera and the other equipment, I just do personality readings, so I can go on and have great fun with the radio host or the TV host, and everybody ends up laughing. And that's what happens at our booth. If we're not having fun, then it's not worth it, because you learn through fun. You learn through laughter. You learn through that joy. And for experience, or just for an example, we have a little lady here, stand-up victim. There she is. Now, I use this whole thing as an educational tool. So it gets people surrounding me. I try to get everybody walking by to stop and play with me and start using their own intuitive. And a lot of times people don't think they're psychic. They're just in awe of everyone else sitting at the booths that are psychic. But then, if they play with me for a while, they start letting down those barriers. They start laughing and playing the game. And they start naming the colors. And the look of joy on their faces is so incredible. And then it gives them a chance to start using it themselves, to start knowing that they are one with the whole universe. What color do you guys feel she's going to be?
Yellow.
Yellow. Remember, it's not just one color. And I don't read like this either. I just look at the colors, and I'll give you a personality profile based on the colors. But the aura is 7 layers at least. So it's layer over layer over layer of colors. So what else do you see besides yellow?
Blue.
Blue? And you have total permission to be wrong.
Green.
Oh, this is beautiful. Are you ready? There's yellow, and there's blue, and there's pink. This is a very spiritual mix. Isn't that gorgeous? That blue is a sucker for me. It's a kind person who came here to be of service. And if she's not doing something to make a difference in the world, then what's life all about for her? And look at that pink. That's a survivor. And that's a survivor through that laughter in your heart, through that joy, through that ability to see the goofiness in things. And it allows you to get up and start moving ahead when things are falling apart around you. That's beautiful. And a lot of healing in this picture, too. Okay, let me give you your picture. Uh-oh! I'll let you come up. Oh, I'm going to be strangled by this. Okay, and now, who was after her? All right, Miss Pink, stand up. Do you think she's going to have pink in her aura? A lot of
Yes.
times we are in vibration. We choose the colors we're in vibration with.
Pink and orange.
Pink and orange. What do you guys feel?
Lavender.
Lavender. I want to hear something from everybody, or at least get a color in your mind.
Pale blue.
Okay.
Pink.
Oh! She's a healer.
Healer?
Look at all that orange. For me, that's a physical healer. That's someone with really powerful hands. And with that yellow, she does tend to overthink sometimes. Yeah. Tends to overanalyze. And a touch of red. She is a stubborn cuss.
What did you take a picture of? What did you take a picture of?
The aura. No, in these particular pictures, because I didn't have an added light out there, the faces are harder to come through. So sometimes you can see a little outline of the body. Yeah. So it's not as potent. When you see us at a fair, we'll have a light right on your face that blinds you. And that actually cuts through all those levels of the aura. Okay. Guy, what color is our next person going to be? Who's our next person? Who was after her? Who? Who? Who all had their picture taken?
It was him.
Oh, it was him? The fellow in white? Okay, rather than Linda. Okay. Yeah, it's his shirt line. Absolutely. Okay, guys, what color is he going to be? Our little fellow in white there. Red. Green. Now remember, if you don't see the colors that right here visually, it doesn't mean they're there. It just means what's happening now is kind of overpowering. And right now, that mind of his, that analyzer brain of his is thinking. That's Mr. Curiosity.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
He's got to know the answers, and look at that red. He's got to know his answers yesterday. Very impatient, see?
Well, you're an engineer, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Retired.
Retired engineer.
No, I'm a licensed massage therapist now.
Oh, and there's orange in here too, isn't there?
Yeah.
Which is the physical healing. There's the orange in there.
Take that.
There, okay, you may
They
have
both
your
look
picture.
alike, yeah.
Okay, oh yeah, pass this to Miss Pink.
Okay.
There. Okay, now is it Linda? We have two more, and I know he's 7. Okay, well, let me see. I can probably tell by the neckline if I peek. Can't see the neckline. Let's see, who else had their picture taken? Because I've got a short-term memory here. So I know he did. And then who else? Because we had, someone else was wrote. There, okay. I think this is Linda then. Yeah.
I was after him.
Yeah, okay.
He was after me.
He was after you?
No. I was after him.
Yeah, we'll see. Just play. I'll just play here. See, are you guys laughing yet? I got a badge there. Who's wearing a badge? I think he's got the badge. So I think this is, and we know this is the last lady. Okay. This is Linda. What color is she going to be?
Stand up. Stand up.
Stand up.
Yeah, stand up, Linda. Let everybody see you.
Yellow.
Yellow.
Oh,
Yellow.
purple. Purple, orange. Yellow, orange.
Who said purple? Okay. Whoops. Okay, are you ready?
Oh my God.
Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? There's white, and for me, that's angelic protection.
Wow.
And then, actually, a little touch of pink, a survivor. It goes into that intuitive purple, and then that gorgeous, gorgeous light blue to a dark blue. So this is a real spiritual picture. You've got a lot going on, and you need those angels protecting you because you're one of those suckers too. Yeah, got to be careful when you've got a heart that's really big because people can take advantage of you. And usually when you've got blue, for me, I usually see white with the blue because the white is angelic protection. people with those blue, generous, sensitive hearts need those angel hugs. They need to be protected from themselves. There you go. Yeah. Okay, and now for our little hunk over here. Now what color were you? You were blues and violets? Is white? Yes. Okay. So what color do you feel he's going to be, guys?
Red.
Can you see him? Does he need to stand up and expose himself? Expose your aura. Expose your aura. Okay. Isn't that something? He's got a little bit of everything here. He's got that analytical mind. He's got that intuitive heart. He's a little stubborn. He's a healer. It's real pleasant to be around him. People will call him on the phone and just talk to him and feel great when they hang up, and he may have a headache. Yeah. So he's a healer whether he wants to be or not, and he's got his angels watching over him. There you go. And last but not least, there's my favorite blouse. There we go. Stand up, let everybody see you. Okay, see, she's wearing every color you can imagine right now. So you know she's Aura chic, because she's got to match her blouse. So what color do you guys feel?
I see
Yellow. Lavender.
White, pink.
And what do you feel?
Me?
Yeah.
Green.
Green? Okay. Get a color set in your mind, guys. And remember, the more you play with this, the more correct you're going to be. Because the more you'll let down those barriers and actually start feeling it. And I ask people to feel the colors, not to think about what the colors will be, but to feel what they'll be. There she is.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that gorgeous? This is someone who always has to be ethical. She's always got to walk that path of ethics, or she gets instantaneous karma. She's been around a lot of lifetimes to be at this point. This is just a master healer, but a spiritual healer. You just don't know it, do you? But you're doing it all the time. And there's white here, angelic protection. Isn't this gorgeous? And that kind, generous heart that can get her in trouble. Yeah, there you go. He called me up and said, I just lost my person that was going to the show. Will you do it for me? I didn't even know how to set the camera up. But I came to Redwood City. He set me out on an overnight flight to Denver. It was a health show. A husband and wife sat down with a little baby, and the little baby was on the lap between them. And when the picture came out, in the top of the picture was a headless child, about 2 years of age. And you could see it very specifically. You could see the little snaps on his little jumper. You could see the shoes and the little shoelaces and the stockings. And then over in the corner was a little baby and a little blanket. And they told me that they had miscarried a child, and it would have been this age. It was about 2 years of age. And it was running out of the picture, and here, right there, was the new baby. So you could see, he was actually physically running. So that was one of my incredible pictures. The problem is, I don't get copies of these little miracle pictures. I did a picture in Redding, California, of a lady who was even fatter than me. She had short blonde hair, and the picture that came out was someone from the 18th century with a long horse-shaped face. Her hair was pulled to the back with a bun, and there was a part in the middle, high neck, a brooch here. I mean, this was very specific. You couldn't see the other lady in the picture at all. There was nobody in this place. It was a bomb of a show. So you could see down every aisle. There was no mistake that could have happened. But I'm a past life reader. So what it was telling me, that this lady was kind of a weenie. And this was a strong character that she was before. It was a woman who actually had come out west. Her husband had died, and she had raised 5 kids by herself on pretty barren land. And she had this strength of character, and so did the woman in front of me, because that was her. They were one and the same. And some of these pictures are powerful. It doesn't happen very often. That was like 18 years ago. that both of these pictures happen. And every once in a while, a couple of times a year, I'll get something real specific that shouldn't be. Double pictures, things like that. This camera is an instantaneous picture. You can move, and you're not going to get a double picture. But I just got a double picture a couple of weeks ago. And when I show this to somebody and we talk about it, it always has a meaning for them. It always reflects something that's happening in their life. So pretty amazing equipment. Every psychic I work with absolutely believes in the miracle of the camera, and we see things.
I'm Patricia Merritt Smith, but my Native American name is Rain Spirit, and I got that name from my grandmother, who is Choctaw, and her maiden name is Rains. And so I was her first grandchild, and she said I was her Rain Spirit, and that's how I became Rain Spirit. So some people know me as Patricia Merritt Smith, and some people know me as Rain Spirit, but I've been using Rain Spirit more and more the older that I'm getting. I am a shaman. I do shaman work. I do shaman journeys, soul retrieving. I also teach Reiki. I'm a Reiki master. Actually, one of my students is here, and I'm a hypnotherapist. So I do many different modalities. And the one thing I love about the Aura system is that you can do like before and after if you are a massage therapist or hypnotherapist, or you have product. It's wonderful when you have a client and you show them how they were before, and then afterwards show them how they were afterwards. And with the system, you can also hook it up to a VCR or a CD, and you can give them a record of it, which I think is just really, really wonderful. Let's see, when Guy gets finished with that, I will do some before and after with people. And a little bit more about me is that I work with Guy, and also I have my own private practice in Castro Valley. I became clairvoyant when I was 7 because I had a near-death experience. And so I've been, I guess, in holistic stuff my whole life, pretty much. Let's see. Does anybody have any kind of questions that they wanted to ask about the camera or anything?
Is it possible to have a system that's real time? Like I noticed you guys are taking photography. Is there such a thing of, being able to have actual real time aura? And so many were seeing it in real time. Like a video.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's what that's what I was just saying, that we can do. You can, like, I'll show you. I have somebody sit there and then I'll do something on them, and that's in real time. You can also video it, and that will be in real time. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, actually seeing colors change,
right.
Energy levels change,
right.
In real time. Because, like, let's say you have to have something done at a certain time, okay. And you would want to know whether your energy levels were, appropriate to make the precise decisions at that time. Okay. Yes. And then the other thing, you were talking about being a healer. Mm-hmm. You were demonstrating how it was effective for the client. Sometimes after you have a session, sometimes your energy levels have been taken away. And as a healer, sometimes, even though the person could be upbeat, but there's something about them that after they left you empty. Okay. And you're like, oh, why did this session drain the living life out of me? This person was upbeat. And I can understand it when somebody is going through, when I have a session and somebody's going through grief, separation, divorce, whatever. I can understand, somebody dragging me into that energy. Mm-hmm. But like, let's say somebody's upbeat and then after they leave you, something changed in that session.
Well, I mean, if you hook yourself, if you get on the machine, you put your hand on the box, on the sensor box, it will also show you, you can do a chakra report, and it will show you what your chakras are doing. So maybe they affected your solar plexus, or maybe they affected your throat chakra, or they changed something in your aura. You can see that. And so which will help you a lot with, okay, every time this person comes, they really, my solar plexus just shrinks up, or it just gets really, too large and is taking too much in. You can see that, and so you'll know, okay, well, maybe I need to put some protection around that particular area, or maybe I need to do some work on myself when that person comes so they can deplete me. Does that make sense to you? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, but you can use it as it's a wonderful tool to see what's going on with yourself and what's going on with you while you're working on someone too. And you will see when I do a demonstration that you can see the energy, like the person's energy, and you can see like my energy coming in with their energy and mixing, and you'll be able to see that, and that will be in real time because it'll be happening right at that minute. Okay, do we have a volunteer who wants to be first? Gentleman in the back, raised his hand first.
That's real funny. I'm really gonna start blushing.
Actually, could you sit back just a little further?
So this is real time, right?
This is real time.
Even though is this like a second time delay? Because, you're going through frames.
Yeah, that's it.
You're not getting the full motion effect. That's what I'm
Right,
trying to
there's
say.
different things that we can put it on. We have what's called live aura.
Okay.
And then that, you'll see the moving. Right now, he's just getting everything adjusted.
We're just going to reset. Okay, place your hand back on the log. Then everything should be okay. I'll do it by myself.
So while you're standing there, are you trying to complete a process as far as, making a certain, aura pattern in him, or?
No, I'm not trying to make a certain aura pattern. I'm just sending in the healing energy and just letting it do what it does.
Okay, all right.
One of the things with Reiki is that if you do Reiki with someone, even though your hands may be one place, it still goes where it's needed in the body.
It's a lot to your hand, holding it like this.
Yeah, it's amazing.
How do you do?
Great. Thank you so much. And what do you do, Selena?
Security.
Okay. Okay, she's in security. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, what I like, that's really you should.
Yes.
So what is that saying, as far as her colors? What's the interpretation of those colors?
Well, she's got a lot of creativity and passion going on, and she just seems overly happy, which is wonderful.
Wow.
Overly happy. She's wearing it, so it's already in her field.
touch anymore.
Wow. Do both of you?
Barbara, what do you do?
I'm a certified master therapist and I'm a healer. My hands, aura cleanser.
Great.
So it's not IOL.
No. Yeah, I just want something different. Wow, how smart. Look at that.
You see, you're in a green represents to me that you're really in a very healing space for yourself. Green is life, the tree, the flowers. Red is red. It's very dynamic. It's not an angry red. This orange right here, very powerful. And look at this.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I'm gonna get back to that level right there. Just get it right there.
Wow.
Gotta go to the shop.
So when you say that you're gonna move something out, what you want the color to be consistent? What-
Yeah, like blue, blue is very peaceful. It gives you a chance to get back into your body. We're mind, body, and spirit. We're not just body, not just mind, not just spirit, we're all three. And lots of times we get in such pain in our body, we're flitting out of our body half the time. So I'm grounding her, she's back into her body. And these different colors just simply represent the state of her health and her mental health. Green is healing. Sometimes it gets bright red, she's pissed off at somebody, Perhaps herself.
So as a healer, what do you want her color to be?
I want her colors to be harmonious with what she feels the best. I will know by her reaction with my hands. There's no bad color except, black and gray, because that shows depression. And we're not seeing any of that in this group because people are all open for healing. So
Okay.
you're all running beautiful energy in here, by the way. Okay, how do you feel? All right, you do me. I'm sure I'll do that much.
We're gonna have you guys.
They're gonna split. I'm a long way to be here.
Feels me first.
Goes to where it's needed. So I don't know, are you feeling the energy? I feel you're warm. Huh? You're warm? Keep it. Still have your head right there.
And how are you feeling, Barbara?
Very nice.
Great.
I think he's really,
Yeah, hands-on is nice.
is very
sweet energy. Loving. This it's soft.